It's the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee. Amy heads north to Wolcott, Vermont. Many may not realize that Vermont was once part of America's original breadbasket before the country's wheat production shifted to the Midwest in the 19th century. But now the young owners of Elmore Mountain Bread, just outside Wolcott, are bringing back some of that heritage by seeking out local wheat, milling it, and turning it into some of the finest bread anywhere.
So my name is Blair Martin, and I'm the owner and head baker here at Elmore Mountain Bread.
We bought the bakery 13 years ago and have been married for 12 years, but have been together for about 17.
Our local grain economy is thriving and coming back, and we're seeing more and more people growing local grains. And so all of these amazing organic special varieties of grains are popping up, and we're starting to see them more accessible to bring to our customers through the bread.
So I am super excited to get a lesson on how you make this bread. So now we're gonna shape?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Can I get a little, I'd love to help out in any way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Andrew, what kind of grain goes into a bread like this?
This is a mostly wheat-based bread. We use a little bit of local rye in it as well.
It looks brown because it's got whole grain as opposed to
Yep, this is
a
about
white loaf.
About 85% whole grain. That's what
Wow,
we use here.
this is gorgeous.
Are you ready to give it a try?
I'm watching you. You're just so, your muscle memory is so incredible to watch. And I don't know if I even want to try after watching this. It's really impressive. So you're taking, I will try. I'll be brave.
Yeah, you absolutely should.
All right, so.
Here we can.
I'm just gonna.
So you kind of take it on the
Okay.
wings down here and make a little envelope.
Uh-huh.
Then
Okay.
fold it up. Yep. And then roll.
Okay.
Awesome.
Then you pull it toward you.
Yep.
And just to tighten the skin.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the purpose of that?
So whenever bread goes into cold dough, goes into a hot oven, it springs,
Right.
is the term. And so what you're doing is you're putting the score in it to allow it to open. And if there's enough steam in there for it to open up, you're gonna get that beautiful crust and the nice
Right.
big ear and beautiful coloration.
So do you do the same mark on each loaf, or does each one have its own?
Yep, every bread has its own score to set it apart from the other
Right.
varieties.
So how long ago did you start baking with your own milled wheat?
We first started experimenting with fresh milled wheat probably 5 years ago. A fellow baker of ours down in Asheville, North Carolina, who bakes out of the same style of wood-fired oven as us, came up for a visit, and he knew we were a little curious about what he was milling his own flour, and we were a little curious. And so what he did was he got home to Asheville, milled up 3 different varieties of grain, and overnighted it to us. We had been used to opening up these bags of flour for all these years, and we opened up this box, and this blast of aroma came out from all of these grains.
Wow.
We're like, what is going on here? This is incredible. And from that moment on, we were hooked.
So when was this flour, when would this flour have been milled?
This flour was all milled last night.
Wow.
Yeah. The next bread, the Vermont Redeemer, which is our 100% Vermont wheat bread. And it's my favorite bread, and I have the strongest connection with that bread. So I've spent a long time figuring out how to score that bread to make it stand out from all the others.
That is a beautiful score.
Thank you.
This design was something that Blair came up with when we developed the Vermont Redeemer bread. When we got this special grain from Vermont, we wanted to really feature it. So instead of putting 10% or 20% in all of our breads, we decided to do one bread that was completely Vermont wheat. And so that people would take notice of it, Blair practiced with a bunch of these different kind of scroll cut patterns in it. And it's really kind of distinct from everything else we do.
Oh, that looks so good.
Okay.
So this is the country loaf that we were shaping
Yeah,
earlier?
this is our country. It's still a little warm, but for for the sake of the moment, let's go for it.
All right, so this is what you're talking about with an open crumb.
Yeah.
So nice big holes.
Nice even distribution of those gas bubbles that we've been working for the last 16 hours to develop. I listen to it for the sound of the crust that comes from the amount of steam, the high heat it's baked at. So let's,
And the evenness, because I've had bread with where there's like a big whole pocket here and, you know, none here.
a lot of times that's just from hand-shaped bread.
Okay.
You know, whenever you're making something by hand, that's just the nature
There's
of things.
variation,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of working with this and eating this kind of food that has connection with the people who are making it. It's not just a machine.
Right, right.
Which is very special.
Should we eat it, taste it plain without butter
Absolutely,
first? Yeah. All right,
absolutely.
Good. Oh my
Yeah,
God. It just feels so moist and tender and yet crusty here and amazing.
This is my favorite.
That's so good. So thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.
So do you have more bread to get out?
I'm
Okay,
gonna take
all
out
right,
the
I'll
next
get this out of the
row.
way.
Yeah, thank you. What do I love about bread? I love the challenge of making bread. I love eating bread. I love whenever you take the bread out of the oven, it crackles and it kind of talks to you a little bit in the beginning of the cooling process. I love that part. I love cutting the cross section to see if I did my job well that day. And then to taste the bread and see how well we harnessed those beautiful inherent flavors of the grains that we're so lucky to work with. Yeah.